All right. Hello, LinkedIn. Happy Wednesday. We're here today with Heather Nelson's my special guest. Super excited to have her on here talking about LinkedIn and nonprofit corporate partnerships and just what that looks like. I know it's actually a question I've had in my marketing and fundraising work to date as a consultant. It's a common question. And I think a lot of us are wondering not just about corporate partnerships, but LinkedIn has just kind of elevated itself, right? So it's super exciting. I met Heather through LinkedIn. So that's, just a great example of it. And I'm just going to we're Yiwu Digital. We bring in great folks like Heather to talk about anything kind of forward facing digital. And so I'm also going to just let Heather tell us a little bit about what she does because she impresses me all the time with great content on LinkedIn.
Oh, thanks so much. And I mean, obviously, we are a testament to LinkedIn. I honestly think one of the reasons I am such a huge supporter of LinkedIn is I have like an endless stream of examples of how it has been great for my life, right?
Amazing.
Both professional colleagues. I've raised more money because of relationships there. I have team members I found there. So the first thing I'm going to say before I get started is while I am a specialist in corporate fundraising, corporate partnerships, my business Bridge Raise does that. I'm also like a human who shows up on LinkedIn as me. And so that's sort of part of the fun of this is you're going to get to know business. Heather, if you follow me on LinkedIn, sometimes I share about my life, my entrepreneurship journey, and I also share about how to build great corporate partnerships. So that duality is sort of the teaser of this conversation. But for those of you who want to learn more about Bridge Raise, bridgeraise.com, we are a consultancy that supports charities and nonprofits in raising more money from companies through corporate partnerships, very relationship, authentic approach to that kind of work. So that's
Amazing.
what brought me here.
Amazing. And, just a little bit of background as well, how are you seeing the trends in LinkedIn? Like, obviously, I feel like LinkedIn in the 2 years I've been active-ish on it is exploding. So you feel that there's a lot of opportunity clearly for nonprofits and nonprofit professionals in the LinkedIn space.
Sure. I mean, I have been using LinkedIn honestly for this purpose for much longer than the last couple of years. And so for me, is it more active now? I don't know. I mean, the business community has been there for quite some time, using it as a recruitment tool, as a tool to talk about themselves and what they're doing. And so I think it's here. It's if it's more robust than before, great. If not, then I was happy with it anyway. So either way, it's definitely a core tool that you can use to build corporate partnerships without question.
Awesome. So Heather has generously said at any time, if you have questions, you're following along with us on LinkedIn, please throw them in the comments and we're happy to just kind of insert them into the conversation. And Heather said she would answer as we go. So
yes,
with that, we're just going to dive right in with the kind of quintessential, how do we begin? Like, where do you start?
Okay. Well, where you start is having a active profile, right? So let's go to the very basics. Both you, your person, and your organization need to have an active profile on LinkedIn. And what that looks like means that you have current information that is of the more static nature, like the who I am, what I'm doing is well filled out. You have a photo, like those things. And then also that you have some posts on your page. And we'll talk about keys for success along the way, but at least some posts on your page. And if you're an organization, that's the same. Like there should be some sort of regularity around posting what your organization does, what your activities are, what your events are, that sort of thing. often we find organizations have really great posts they're putting on Instagram or Facebook, and they're not putting on LinkedIn. So please, I encourage you to use the content you're creating and post it on LinkedIn. So, to get started, have an active page.
Yeah.
And then come and visit LinkedIn periodically and start getting to know what kind of content is there and what kind of content is being posted by the companies that you would like to be partners with. That's, if you're asking me, what are the first couple of things to do? That's where I would absolutely get started.
Yeah, absolutely. I do know, and I mean, I've seen it many times too. Like you said, really active Instagram pages. But at the same time, like there's so much small content shifts that you can make in your social media strategy from over on Instagram that really, like you had said, you're a person on LinkedIn talking about your business, talking about entrepreneurship, and but you're also talking about your family. And I do think, at least I'm seeing a lot of a trend where people would like to still engage with content on LinkedIn, and maybe you have to tweak it a little bit in language than you would on Instagram. But I do think it, like you said, starting somewhere and something is likely better than nothing. And we all get obsessed with the perfection.
That's it. That's it. One of the complicated things with LinkedIn, I think, well, complicated, not complicated, but that confuses people or gets people really hung up is like the organization's page and their personal page. Like I get a lot of questions about this. Like when I say I want you to have a LinkedIn strategy, the immediate thinking is that means what posts go on my organization's page.
Yeah.
And really, that's not usually what I mean. I do want you to have something on the organization's page. But the fact is, LinkedIn is a human to human tool primarily. And the algorithm of the organization, of the platform, primarily promotes individuals' posts.
Yeah.
So what you put on your organizational page is not that critically important for the most part. If you're a really, really huge organization, you might get more reach there. It might need to be more thoughtful but for many organizations, you could slightly tweak, i.e. take off the hashtags and not much else, and put that content on your organization page. When we're talking about your person page, though, that's where you're adding your own opinion on things, right? So that is where you're interspersing things about your work with, you can decide how personal you want to be. It can be quite personal. Some of us show up very personally there. Others want to be a little bit less personal. Then it might be what conferences you're attending or some other certification you've taken. So it can, but that would be mixed in with sharing content about your organization. So that's where it's like, if someone asks me, what do I want you to spend time on? If you're talking about corporate partnerships, spend the most of your time on your own profile.
Okay.
The least amount of time on the organizational profile. And if you're in a bigger organization where marketing department is in charge of that, that's going to make everyone feel better because you don't have to spend as much time over there. A lot of what we want to have happen, especially at the beginning, like the prospecting or building the relationship phase, is going to happen on your own page.
Interesting. So, and we're jumping all over the place already.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, this is fun stuff later for sure. Yeah. Okay, so great places to start. Got to get your own page and got to start posting something to that page. And I know in terms of nonprofit organizations, I think I read a stat recently, like most don't have, there's still lots of nonprofits that do not have a page at all. And if they do, it's never been active to date. So great place to start. I'm sure everyone has a lot of headroom there. When you're starting this LinkedIn profile for nonprofits, like what kind of pieces do you usually suggest in terms of attracting potential corporate partners, or what should be on that page in terms of information for them?
Sure. I think it's very optimistic to say that you're going to actually attract corporate partners by what you post on your page, to be very transparent. I think what we're trying to do is not repel them or reinforce for them that you are the right partner. Okay. So when we use what we want on our page, I'm going to connect it to the other piece of the puzzle. So on our organizational page, we want there to be posts. We want there to be at least some posts that acknowledge corporate partners, government support, that kind of thing. So on your organizational page, almost thinking about it as like, what are, if a company came here, what
Yeah.
would be some key things they'd want to see in order to want to partner with you? They want to see that you are active, that they know what you're doing, the impact you have, and that you have other partners. So how can posts over time, they're going to may scroll back and look at 2 or 3 posts. How can over time that message get across? Credibility, trust. We do this. We do partners. We do have partners. We work with them and we recognize them. So
Right.
that's your corporate page. And then on your personal page, right, you want to have a headline and an about section that shows that you're open to discussion, that you're a corporate partnership specialist, or that's what you do. Maybe if you do employee engagement, you oversee that. You might want to mention that because that's those are, words that people on the corporate side are looking for. But again, what's happening, they're probably not Googling who should I corporate partner with in LinkedIn. They're receiving an email from you. And then they're
Yeah.
thinking, who am I about to talk to? And they're going to pop over to your LinkedIn page, maybe, or to your website and check you out before the call, or even while they're actually on the phone with you, or while they're typing their answer, a quick scan. So you're just thinking to yourself, how can I make sure that those 2 things reinforce positively what I'm trying to make happen here? It doesn't, so that's why you don't have to think about it. It doesn't have to go that deep, right? Like it's not that
Yeah.
deep. It's, a few things they're looking for to make sure that you fit the bill for at least another conversation, right?
I love that. I'm just going to ask people, anybody who's on the other side watching this, how many people, like just a yes or no, do you go creeping on LinkedIn before your phone calls? Because I know I do, right? Like I'm at the spot where even just casual calls where I've met, like we've joked about, I meet all my new friends through LinkedIn at this point, and I love it. It's great. But I really enjoy going ahead of my phone calls and just seeing like what's their history. Like we're connecting over potentially marketing right now, but
Mm-hmm.
what were they doing before? And I really enjoy having thoughtful questions to ask when I get into a phone call with somebody. I like to go, oh, you went to this university, or what were you doing living in Australia? That's so cool, right? And just having those pieces to start. Is that something in general you're saying, or you're suggesting that most corporate partners are going to go and take the time to do that kind of due diligence out there at this point?
I can't prove the numbers, but I think so. I mean, I think that this is just a natural thing that we all do now. And so if they have time, yes. Like, is every one of them taking that time? Well, I don't know, but it does happen. I also say, don't bother hiding it. If you're
Yeah.
looking at companies' pages or people's pages demonstrating that you're willing to do your homework, uh, let them know. Like that shouldn't be a secret.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I not that it's, I think it shows, I don't know, it shows a little bit of gumption and that you're really invested in this ahead of time. Or I always look at it that way. Maybe
Yeah.
there's other people who find it a little creepy, but I always like to do that ahead of time. Okay, and I think
Well,
this,
and make it uncreepy. Like I acknowledge it.
yeah,
I'll set, so like probably if I'm about to have a call with you and I'm on your page, I will literally put in the DM, hey, just checking you out before the call. Looking forward to talking soon. Like, or as soon as I get on the call, hey, I was on your LinkedIn profile. I saw that we used to work at the same organization or we know the same people. Like,
yep,
it's not private information. It's there. So it just shows you're being thoughtful. You want to maximize their time by like covering off the things that, to me, it's the same as going to a web page unless it's locked out. Like if they've locked it, well, quick, of course, that's different. But
yeah,
if these are public posts, then they are putting that information for you to know ahead of time.
yeah, I love
And
that.
and so I don't think it's creepy. It's lazy to not be doing that.
There you go. I know. Corporate relationship building 101. Definitely look around at profiles.
Right?
I love that. Um, so, I mean, both you and I are active on our personal LinkedIn's and obviously are managing business pages as well.
Mm,
As you've mentioned, and I've seen the algorithm frequently in this direction, there's definitely a preference towards personal LinkedIn profiles, like hands down times 50, right? Or whatever. It
mhm.
feels like at times there's no traction on sometimes your professional LinkedIn or like
Mm,
your page for your company. So
right.
using your personal LinkedIn, how can nonprofit professionals kind of start that in a way that feels genuine and authentic, I guess, as well?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I talk about with clients a lot is sometimes you need that first post that signals that you're like going to be doing this. I
Yeah.
think one of the things I think that is the barrier to entry on this is like what happens first. Like if I've never posted a post and I've treated LinkedIn more like a static resume page. Now, all of a sudden, that first post takes on like a huge amount of importance and can be kind of daunting. So,
Yeah.
we do like make recommendations about what that first post is in order to signal the shift, right? So maybe it's you've started a new role and you're going to talk about it and like put that as the launching off point. Or you might actually say, I'm in this corporate partnership building space, and as such I thought I would share some values that are important to me around corporate partnership. Like do something that signals the shift, because that first post then I think opens the door to what you're going to do next. So that's my like first suggestion. But then once you've done that, then there's active ways you can support your organization. So the first one is, I think, fairly obvious: reshare what is on that page. So
Yeah.
the events, the initiatives, any articles, if you're in the newspaper, are some of the nice ways to start. So that you reshare it, you add your own thought on top, your encouragement, whatever. You should add something to it. So you're adding value. You're not just reposting. You're adding value. Your role, if maybe the partner isn't mentioned on the page, then you could say, hey, we collaborated with so and so on this. So that's number one. Number two is, can you share posts or things from your corporate partners? So as we've already talked about, companies, what they do tend to post is their corporate partnership stuff.
Yeah.
Or their employee wins, or their community investment or purpose driven goals. And if these things connect with your organization in any way, then that gives you an opportunity to share content that they post. And this can
Nice.
be very powerful, right? This is
Yeah.
connecting. One of the most important things we look for when we want to reach out to a new company is how we align with them. And
Yeah.
so if you can demonstrate that through a LinkedIn post, then you can definitely demonstrate it through a conversation, and you're in a really good spot to be a ideal partner for them. Another option, which is a little bit more work, but can be very powerful as well, especially for leaders and organizations, are thought leadership posts. We know that more and more companies are taking a stance in a around causes, and they want to learn, they want to understand what's going on. And leaders in organizations can use their platforms to educate. So
Nice.
this may not be directly a corporate partnership thing, but if you're a corporate leader or a CSR person, a community investment person, and you're consistently seeing a leader speak about an issue that you're investing in, then that might be a partner that you're attracted to. Or conversely, if you're already partners, you're really proud of that organization. And sometimes that will lead to the company commenting or sharing that post as well. Again, creating deeper connection between the charity and the company. And the other way you can support your organization with your LinkedIn profile is by commenting on things that are out there.
Yeah.
Again, this is a bit lighter too. So for some people, this is an easier entry point into being active in LinkedIn. If they're not ready yet to like post, can they comment
And they engage. Yeah. Yeah.
and engage, right? So go to some of the leaders or CSR people or company pages of the companies that are top of your list and like comment, engage, be a participant in the conversation.
Nice.
So those are some suggestions.
I like that a lot. And, finding that synergy, I guess, too, right? And one of the things I do is follow hashtags, right? That are relevant to our organization. Like we do
Mhm.
nonprofit marketing. So I follow the nonprofit marketing hashtag.
Right.
But it allows me to see what other conversations are kind of coming up in that space. But, would the same thing apply to a nonprofit organization that is in the environmental space? Is it worth kind of following along, even if that just helps an awareness of like what organizations on LinkedIn are talking about environmental causes, right? Or would that
Yeah.
be, I don't know if that applies in the same way.
Sure. I mean, I think it does and it doesn't. I mean, if we're talking about maximizing our time or spending as little time as possible, for most organizations, I would be more targeted. I
Yeah.
would say, you know what, we have a list and this is what we would do with clients. We would like, these are the list of the most important companies. Like we're going to their pages, we're going to their leaders pages, and we are very specifically looking for connection and comment and, ways that we want things we want to know about each other. Like, however, if you are a corporate partnership specialist who is planning to spend their career here, then what you're suggesting, yes. Like if you're
Yeah.
talking about me, when I used to work 100% in the space, I would be following those hashtags. I would be up on all the issues that are facing the kinds of companies that we were working with, so that when I got on the phone, I would know, did they lay off people? Are they facing a government regulation change? Like these are things that are important to them, therefore they were important to me. uh, that's definitely a senior level strategy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so for any of our experienced people, they're like, yeah, I'm doing that. But if you're new to it, that might be next year.
Yeah, just where to start. Okay, but that's great. So I know this kind of leads into that, like this conversation, but with just, initiating and kind of nurturing these
Yeah.
potentially new relationships.
Yeah. I think that there's a couple of things. One, definitely to say thank you in LinkedIn to your corporate partners is an important thing. They love it. If you can do that in a way that's creative, that's even better. So, I'm not recommending like a commercial of like one logo per post kind of thing. I love to see the creative ones that show, tell a story or show something cool. So
Yeah.
that's one way. I also, again, commenting on their stuff, sharing their stuff, congratulating them, that does create a great chance to nurture. And then use DMs when you have an existing relationship. So never assume that you've posted something that they will see,
Okay.
right? It's just too
Yeah.
busy in there, right? So if you have an existing relationship and you've posted something about them, or there's an article or something cool that your organization has done that you would like them to see, send it at a DM and say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you saw this, blah, blah, blah. Like you don't need an answer. You're not asking them to do something. You're just making it easy for them to see something that is important.
I love that. I'm probably notoriously bad for that, right? Where you just put the little at symbol, add
Hope.
in the company
Yeah.
name or the person's name, and you're just like, oh, they're obviously.
Obviously, they're gonna see. Well, and it's funny that you say that because I was actually just talking to one of my close business colleagues, and she was like, last week I posted on topic. She's like, I'm gonna post on that topic this week. And I was like, well, I want to hear what you have to say too. I definitely want to see that. Make sure you DM me that message so that I can see it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like I may or may not see it. And so she did that, and we're engaging in a really interesting conversation. I'm so glad that she did, and that was a favor to me. I did not have to, like, I could it could leave my mind until she posted it, and it came back, right? And so
Yeah.
just consider that a service, as opposed to like I'm bothering them by DMing them. No, you're providing them a service. They can like just swish right over it if it's not of interest, or if they already saw it, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just that very simple FYI, did this
Yeah,
post, your name's in it, right? Like
yeah.
just it,
Yeah,
yeah,
or we did this awesome thing, like we're in the news or whatever, and we wanted to make sure you saw it so that you know what's going on with us.
yeah, absolutely. So for a smaller team that's really just dipping their toes into this, they don't have someone on staff necessarily, or maybe multiple staff are maintaining
Yeah.
this new corporate initiative. What
Mm,
does that look like? Is this an everyday investment? Is this like or
mhm.
what, how do you normally,
Yeah,
you've got your page profile, you've got your personal LinkedIn, like, you know, I don't know. I'm always nervous at what to suggest to nonprofit professionals in terms of investment, because I know it's a big, there's a
yeah,
big job and role usually somewhere else as well.
yeah. So I think like assuming that we're repurposing content on it from other places and putting a couple of posts a month on the company page, a couple of posts a month, you're
Okay.
good.
Nice.
On your personal page, if you're posting a couple of posts a month, I'd also be thrilled.
Okay. Nice.
I would love it if I heard that once every couple of weeks, at least, you're going in and engaging with the company posts or doing some kind of what we call warm up moves. So, like, if you've just sent a bunch of emails, that should be this. You should give yourself the extra 15 minutes to also, before you send them, go over and like just check what's going on in LinkedIn, so that if something has happened, you can add a sentence at the beginning. You are just more connected with what is going on.
Nice. I have seen a couple organizations where they do a Slack channel, like for lack, like, or a part of how their company communicates, so that people know. Obviously, there is that fancy notify employees button, but if people never go into LinkedIn at all, they're not going to know if there's anything really going on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I'd actually read the other day, and I'd never heard this term before, but I think it applies really well to LinkedIn, of asymmetric intimacy. And so by
Oh,
when you post, I know, right? I was like, this is LinkedIn in a nutshell.
mm,
But the idea being that, like, when you have a public facing profile, you're putting yourself out there to some degree, which, I mean, fundraisers do all the time, right? Or putting
mhm,
themselves
mhm.
out there in their mission. That LinkedIn is also a really natural space to build up this asymmetric intimacy, where people who meet you there feel like they already know you a little bit before they get to a call or before they get to a
Sure.
conversation. And, being
That's it.
consistent and authentic allows them to go, well, this is who I'm going to be dealing with. This is someone at this organization, or this person as an individual. You feel like you
Exactly.
have something already, right?
Yeah, internally at Bridge Race, we call that the social media warm up, which
Yes.
is the same idea, right? Like, how can and sometimes without even noticing, how can they see your organization, see you, and just like then when your email comes in, or then when the call comes in, they're like, I know that person, right?
Yeah.
And it's a combination of having seen a post in LinkedIn, and maybe you DM them, and maybe you're at the same conference, and like all this comes together, and they're like, I'm going to call that person back, or I'm going to pull that proposal out of the like massive pile I have in front of me. So 100%, I had not heard that term, but it is
No.
definitely what I'm talking about all the time. Is that this is not a single channel. I'm not saying you're going to get from beginning to end corporate partnerships in LinkedIn. I'm saying
Yes.
that as part of the whole journey towards partnership, LinkedIn is one of the tools that can be inserted at the prospecting stage, at the nurture stage, at the warm up stage. And you can be thinking about what are some little ways that can happen without like giving yourself a huge project.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So if anybody has a quick question or anything, feel free to throw it in. I know I knew this conversation was going to be great and I was going to end up going slightly over time anyway. But
Yeah.
in this vein, Heather, how can people connect with you and, what kind of supports can they expect from the Bridge Raise team?
Sure. So connecting with me on LinkedIn is literally the easiest thing. So after this, pop over to my page and follow me. You can DM me any questions. I will also answer any questions that we don't cover. Beyond that, if your organization is looking to build your corporate partnership portfolio, either you're getting started and you need to figure that out, or you're at a more advanced stage and you're looking to, up level your pitch deck, your benefit framework, warm up and expand your prospect pipeline. That's what we do with our clients. I did put together a specific thing for people who join us here. I have a social media masterclass where I go over some of these things and I give examples and a few other bits and pieces. And if they want that, we will give them the link here. But it's on my website. Usually it's for clients only. So I've opened it up for this conversation.
Awesome.
Social media masterclass. So how you can use LinkedIn in all the ways we've just talked about, and maybe a couple others.
Absolutely. And like you said, LinkedIn is a piece, right? But I think it is a pretty significant piece, especially when we're talking corporate, because businesses have an alignment and a reputation that they're hoping to kind of find partners for, right? And so lots of potential on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for your time, Heather, because this is really fun. And I've seen the power of LinkedIn at work consistently in my work. So, okay, awesome. Thanks everybody for joining, and make sure to connect with Heather. She's always putting great posts out on LinkedIn almost daily. So lots to follow along with.
Thanks so much, Tasha.
Thanks, guys.